Today I want to show you 3 reasons why semen retention is actually a spiritual practice. And I actually also figured it out a little later because I guess you also just started doing semen retention because of girl attraction, and you feel more confident in all these reasons. But then eventually when you practice it for a little longer, you realize that this is quite spiritual. And now to the 3 points, and the last one is actually the best one. So the first reason is, like in the Bible they say that purity is really important. Like they say all the time, you should flee from the temptation. You should not be lustful, like Joseph when he fled in the Old Testament from lust. Or like also when you look at the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians, it also says like that when you live in the Spirit, then you don't fornicate, you don't commit adultery, you are like pure. And you can't really be pure if you are lustful all the time, if you look at girls, if you have all those fantasies. That's basically impossible to do. That's basically the first reason. It makes you more pure, and that's almost unintentionally. That's just what happens on this journey, but it's really spiritual and biblically right, if you want to look at it like that. Then the second reason is, if you are like heavily addicted to all the websites and everything that comes along with the whole mind games, like I was, like then you realize eventually that you can't really quit the whole thing alone. You either need somebody, or like everything doesn't work. And then since you are more pure because of the first step, you get actually out of this numbness. Because if you live all the time in a lustful state, then you basically don't have the energy to really connect with a higher source. And when you realize I relapsed over and over again, and I actually want to quit, but it really doesn't work, and I'm still lusting, and you beat yourself up and everything, then that's actually the blessing. If you are really heavily addicted, you realize you can quit on your own. And then you basically surrender your addiction to a higher power, God, or whatever you want to call it. That's basically in Romans what they talk about, that you realize that you want to live a pure life and in the Spirit, but eventually the flesh takes over and you do things that you don't want to do, but you can't help yourself and still do it. And the solution that they say, I will post the link up here, or the verse where it is that only like Jesus or believing in God can help you in this situation. And that's a really beautiful thing to realize. It's like you give your problems to God, your defects basically, and that in itself gives you power. And you acknowledge basically that yourself, your I, or your selfishness thinking is not good enough to overcome it. Like in Proverbs, it talks all the time about when you fear God, that's the start of all wisdom, and you basically have to kill your ego. And that's really hard to do. Like it took me like almost 25 years to actually get to this point. And that's basically the start of a spiritual life, in my personal opinion. And also when you read the Proverbs, it always says you should give up your selfishness and not do things out of self-will, but let yourself guide by God and everything. And then you are way more in harmony. You're less greedy. You don't just want to go around and hook up with a lot of girls and everything, because you realize that everything is just ego based. Like, why do I want to get money? Like, of course we need money, but at some point, like if I have a Rolex or not, that it doesn't really matter if you have it or not. It's just like to impress others, and the other people don't really care about what you have. They also just care about how other people think of them or perceive them. it's like a mind game, and it's really selfish and kind of, yeah, stupid in some sense, but you gotta live it to a certain degree, and you can still get a Rolex or whatever you want, but it's like just because you want to have it, and you are not like, your identity is not in this material stuff. Like, you don't make money or like girls your gods. Like, that's the problem. If you are lusting all the time, you basically make girls your god, and that's really not good. So now that was step number 2. The third step is basically the best part, I believe, is like when you realize that you can't really quit this addiction by yourself, then you surrender this addiction to God, and you let all the bad stuff for God. Like, He's going to deal with that, and you personally only focus on the things that you want to develop. Like, you want to give more, you want to be a better person, you want to love more, you want to share more your experiences, and just leave the bad stuff with God, because you have tried that way too much in the past. And yeah, honestly, at least in my case, it was the case that I was not able to overcome it by myself, like greed and everything. And there is a burden that falls off if you can give all your bad habits to God and not having to rely on your mind or yourself to deal with that stuff. And then you can focus only on the good things, and that is way more fun. It also puts you in a way more positive mood, because when you always, yeah, your mind actually beats you up in some sense if you don't get what you want, or you think you are behind. You always compare yourself with other people, and that's also a bad habit. But if you like try to be more helpful, or like try to treat people differently, not complain all the time, like actually listen to people, that's a completely different state of mind. And you can be thankful if you reach that state, in my personal opinion. And it's a completely different approach. Like, it's a more spiritual approach. You also pray more in these situations, and that's really helpful, I think, as well, because it says a lot in the Bible that what you say, you actually become. Like, it's in James, in some chapters, I can leave the verse up here somewhere, that basically what you say is really important. Because if you always say, like, I'm poor, or like I'm in bad health and stuff, eventually, if you tell yourself that all the time, you're going to be like that. Just think about it. If you always tell yourself you are poor, then you don't really start a budget, because you already think, it's hopeless, I can't really change my situation. But if you think, I can at least do a budget, or I can at least do the best in my situation and look where it takes me, that's a completely different mindset. And then you leave all the bad stuff that I mentioned before to God, and you focus on the good stuff. And that's way more beautiful. And then you actually enjoy your life, because you basically chase your dreams, but you don't really chase your dreams. You just do what's in your favor. It's more like out of self-love. So now I've talked a lot. Please leave a like and a sub down below if this video was somewhat useful to you, or comment down below if you agree or not. And let's appreciate the view behind me a little bit more. And we will see us in the next video. Bye, guys.